set of relationships with Russians that people associated with Trump have had or had over a period of time. We don't know whether there was violations of the law. We don't know, there's a lot of, the legal significance is still to be determined. But there's no doubt that this is deeply troubling and that in the minds of many Americans, it connects directly to the kind of relationship that the president is developing with Vladimir Putin. And it continues to be an odd relationship and one in which we don't seem to be getting the full story about what was said in this really, really important meeting. I mean, just in the last 48 hours, the chief of staff of the White House has said there was never any talk with Putin about sanctions, which is a very important issue. And yet Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, said coming out of the meeting there was talk about sanctions. I don't know why they have so much trouble getting their story straight, but it just fuels suspicion that I think is terribly damaging to the president and to his capacity to govern, and frankly is dispiriting for a lot of Americans.
Michael, according to the New York Times report, they're saying it's still unclear whether the Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya actually produced the promised compromising information about Mrs. Clinton. But you talked about the timeline here, and what we're learning is that this meeting happened on June 9th, according to the New York Times report, and confirmed that it was in June by Donald Trump Jr. Now, if it was June 9th, that's roughly 1 week after the final hacked emails were collected from the DNC and 1 week before the hack was actually announced. Does the timeline there raise red flags to you?
Well, this is what we talked about just a minute ago. This is possibly a piece of a puzzle that's now been put together, which is information seized illegally from the DNC, a cutout, and you have to just watch Bridge of Spies to see whether this is a cutout on behalf of the government of the Soviet Union, of Russia, or not. It seems most likely that it was. And then you have Kushner, who's at the meeting at the behest of Trump Jr. He's the data analytics guy for the campaign. And then the next thing we know, there's the WikiLeaks leak. And those things, to me, just are not easily understood as coincidences. And so I think that that's something that Mueller will look at carefully. The other thing I think that's important, and David has made the point well in political terms, in legal terms, when you have a circumstantial case, which is what this is, where people are going to say different things and you have to evaluate the credibility of witnesses to make determinations as to who's being truthful and who's not, these evolving stories, this drip, drip, drip of the truth just doesn't seem to be in any way helpful to their legal position, which will be down the line evaluated by Mueller. So not only does it not make political sense to David, it doesn't make legal sense to me. Why at this point in the life of this investigation would you dare have evolving truth in the course of 2 days, as was the case with Donald Trump Jr.? It's just unfathomable to me from a legal point of view.
David, this meeting happened in Trump Tower, we've learned. Trump's son-in-law, his campaign manager, Paul Manafort at the time, they were all there, but apparently then-candidate Trump was never aware of it. Do you buy that?
I don't know. One is awfully suspicious. And Donald Trump is such a major force in himself. He's just a very strong person who wants to know things. And he would be very unhappy not to be told, I think. So one has to assume he probably was told. But I don't think I think that's going to be something Mueller has to sort out. I totally agree with the arguments that have just been presented about the legal aspect of this too. I do think it hurt. I think inevitably when the Mueller team weighs what they've got, and when some members of the Senate weigh what they've got, they're going to be deeply troubled by the pattern of statements that just don't add up. And I just can't remember a time when a White House has been so unable, and a legal team has been so unable to get their stories straight and to come forward with straight facts and defend themselves. I mean, it's just the incompetence that goes into this is also quite stunning.
So I want to make sure I get in what Donald Trump Jr. has said, guys. Again, initially he admitted there was a meeting between himself, Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort, and this Russian lawyer. He confirmed that to us. Jared Kushner's lawyer also confirmed that to us here at CNN. And before this most recent part of the New York Times reporting that it was because Donald Trump Jr. was promised some damaging information about Hillary Clinton that could be useful to their campaign, we had this statement from Jared Kushner's lawyer regarding this meeting. It said, admitting he did not disclose this meeting initially on a security clearance form, quote, he has since submitted this information, including that during the campaign and transition, he had over 100 calls or meetings with representatives of more than 20 countries, most of which were during transition. Mr. Kushner has submitted additional updates and included, out of an abundance of caution, this meeting with a Russian person, which he briefly attended at the request of his brother-in-law, Donald Trump Jr. As Mr. Kushner has consistently stated, he is eager to cooperate and share what he knows. Michael Zeldin, does that statement change your calculus about how you're looking at this meeting?
Well, Jamie Gorelick is a terrific lawyer, and I think she's doing a very good job in representing Jared Kushner. And Jared Kushner's statements seem to always be, I want to do the right thing, trying to do the right thing. I've made a mistake in the past. I've corrected it going forward. And it may well be, the truth. To David's point, though, of the White House being unable to get its act together, as a lawyer, I think of it in terms of as an unwillingness to get its act together. So David thinks of it in political terms and says, I can't understand why they're unable to get this together. I think of it in legal terms of why are they unwilling to get it together? And why I say it in those terms is that it implies that there's something that they are trying to hide, that there's a truth that they don't want revealed, and that's why the story comes out as it comes out. And one's forced to tell the truth or evolve the truth, then they evolve the truth. So with respect to Kushner, it remains to be seen. With respect to the others, I don't believe that they are helping themselves, helping the president's legal case, or helping their own personal jeopardy by being untruthful until required to be be
Michael Zeldin and David Gergen.
I must say,
I got to get in a quick break.
I just want to say,
go ahead.
Michael was absolutely right.
All right. That was quick. David Gergen, Michael Zeldin.
I'll take that.
We always appreciate